let's go ahead and get started here. Appreciate you guys all joining us. And of course, we have Sara with us today. Sara, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I love the Davis family. So thank you for having me, Jake and Scott. I appreciate you guys very much in our partnership.
Well, we appreciate you. We're excited to have you on here. It's going to be a great topic. We're going to be very excited to dive into this. We're going to be talking today about your BDC, staffing, hiring, training, really about how do you staff your BDC. Mm-hmm. And Sara Hoagey is founder and CEO of Elite BDC, an automotive consulting company specializing in virtual BDC training, BDC consulting, CRM customization services with clients in North and South America. Yes. Sara has 23 of automotive experience in digital strategy, BDC, and CRM systems. Mm-hmm. She also operates an automotive call center for virtual BDC clients across the country. Sara, appreciate you joining, and certainly you have a lot of experience to bring to the table on this discussion. Where are you calling from today?
I relocated from beautiful Rochester, New York, which it's probably 50 degrees up there right now, to Orlando about almost 4 years ago. So I'm not that far away from you guys. Not so great during hurricane season, but beautiful today. And we love Orlando now. Really, really love our home.
Honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's colder than 50 degrees. Frankly, it's been cold here in Southwest Florida lately.
I know.
So, okay. Quick reminder, at the end, we're going to take questions and answers for Sara. If you guys have them, feel free to type them in the chat here on Zoom, as well as send them to jake@volie.com. And we will get to your questions for the last 10 or so minutes today. Let's go ahead and dive into our first topic. Sara, can you talk about the process you go through when you're ready to hire agents? What are you looking for in an agent?
What am I looking for in an agent? That's a great question. So for agents in general, I want everything all the way around. Originally at first, we really wanted strong appointment setters, people who were really ambitious, task-oriented. I tend to really go after confidence. I love if they're articulate, they can have a conversation. Having some automotive experience is genuinely nice. But when I'm seeking an automotive agent, I really want someone who's passionate, dedicated. They're dedicated to themselves. They'll be dedicated to the company that they serve. And just overall organized in their life, ambitious. Maybe they want to move up a little bit, but they're very, very task oriented and achievement oriented. So you want to find someone who feels very successful with tasks and getting those tasks and goals accomplished every single day. And they're comfortable working at a desk too, because there's a lot of applicants out there that you can hire right now, but if they're so used to moving around and being able to up and move around, and I'll give you an example, the restaurant industry, it's really, really hard to move a server. They're great with people. They're great with people face to face. But when you try to move them into a desk position, that's very, very difficult because they're so used to moving around all day.
So that certainly would be a mistake that people are making. What are some of the, including that, but what are some of the common mistakes that you see people make when it comes time to staff their BDC?
Okay, so these are some easy questions. So for staffing, well, I've been doing it a long time. I've been doing it like 25 years. And I'm going to tell you some mistakes that you make when you don't trust your gut instinct. Take a look and go after your gut instinct. If you're talking to someone for 5 minutes and you're feeling pretty good about them, go with that gut instinct. Go with, okay, I think I'm making the right decision here. This seems like a good person, someone that I really want on my team. They've done some research. They know a little bit about my company. Some of the mistakes you can make is not being prepared. You don't have a job description. You don't have a compensation plan available for the person. You don't have a desk available. You don't have onboarding ready. So you have not properly prepared. What is the first week going to look like? What's the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days going to look like? When that person wants to move in 6 months, Where are we going to move them to? So you want to have all of that prepared prior to the person starting. So you're prepared and that they're prepared. One of the number one complaints that we have, because we ask people who leave, I just had someone that resigned. I called her. I wanted to find out, why did you resign? And she just said, I just needed to get out of the all desk environment. She's actually going to a warehouse to work in a warehouse. She wanted some physical activity, wanted to be around more people, wanted to be off the phones. And she goes, honestly, I really loved it there. I just need to do something different for me. And she was just glad that I called, and it was a 5-minute conversation, but it was good for her. And it was good for me to find out,
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I would say you need to be prepared. And we have the tools. So we give a lot of these tools to our dealers when we are asking them, do you have a job description, a compensation plan? Do you need us to give one to you, recommend one for you? If they don't have that, we have to have those tools readily available for the candidate, for the job description, for the job posting, and for the manager and hiring manager. So,
and having good team in place is crucial. It's crucial because these are the people who are talking with your customers and representing your business. So,
correct.
That is why we want to have good processes in place to make sure that we're hiring the right people.
Correct.
I do want to follow up on something you said before. Having good automotive experiences is good.
Mm-hmm.
Would you not hire someone because they know nothing about automotive if they show that they want to learn?
No, I would still hire them. I'm going to tell you, for me, I find great candidates in collections. Collections is tough. If you can do collections and you can hit goals, collections is very, very difficult. They're great candidates for recruiting and putting into a BDC. I really like evolving cashiers, greeters, receptionists. They're entry-level positions. And the next phase is really an intermediate position, which would be BDC. So if you're great at greeting somebody on the phone and transferring calls, your next phase is moving into a BDC. That is a intermediary position.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never had a position and you want to move into BDC, you can't do that. That's a mistake. So
how do you know how many people you want to have? What is a good rule of thumb on how big your BDC should be, how many agents you have, and all of that?
So some of it depends on how much traffic and the call volume and the workflow. It depends on the dealer and leads. So with the wonderful technology that we have with Volie, because I have to give credit where credit's due, in a dealership, when it comes to sales leads and sales volumes, if they don't have a robust telephony system, a BDC agent can really only handle 200 leads a month. That's it for sales. Service kind of depends on how many calls you have coming in. So when a dealership asks me, hey, Sarah, I need to figure out how I need to staff for sales, it's 200 leads. If they have a robust telephone system, you can do more, 300 or 400. Let's be honest, the number one expense we have in automotive is people. So we have to figure out if we want to do software or people. And if you're not doing software, you're going to need more people. You need to be able to measure to manage the people. Mm-hmm. So I always recommend a really good software, and then let's staff accordingly to the people. Service-wise, most service schedulers, I had schedulers that could do 15 to 20 appointments an hour. So for service, it kind of depends on, do you have the right software? And the average call is usually 3 to 5 minutes, and they can move from call to call as long as they have proper service scheduling software and like a script in front of them to keep them on point.
And just so, this may be an obvious question to you, but just so people know, do you cross-train for sales and service, or do you look to hire different people for those different BDC roles?
I recommend separate. So think of it as a car dealership. In a car dealership, you don't have your salesperson walking over to the service station and scheduling service appointments. Service and sales are different. That's why you don't have your sales manager doing the service manager responsibilities. I was a service manager for 3 years. It's very, very different than working a deal as a sales manager. So in service, if you have that capability and you have that volume where you can separate out the two, it's ideal. It's also ideal because service scheduling, you need to have the time to upsell, make sure that there's not a recall, review the history and see what declined services they have. Do they have a special order part? Is it time for them to have an inspection? It's completely different than sales. Is their warranty expiring? Do I need to upsell them on the warranty? So it's really, really different than sales and booking an appointment. Some people say no, but if you really want to do it right, when the customer's coming in, if you have the volume, because I have stores that don't have the volume, and we combine the person, but the best scheduling happens when they're separated, if you have the volume.
But it all comes down to if you have the volume.
If you have the volume.
Yeah.
It's all on call volume.
And how do you know if you're hitting that threshold where you need to hire another person, or, should you train your staff to try to, handle it?
I don't even mind when you're getting in between. So I'll give you a couple different things. So obviously it's on lead volume. You have to go change based on lead volume when your tasks are piling up. So when you can't get through a certain amount of calls per day and you have a certain call volume that you have to meet and it's not happening and you're not making a dent, then it's time to increase the positions. I'm trying to think. I will tell you, there's times where I don't need staff, but I do need staff. And what I mean by that is I don't have enough volume for the next person to come in, but I know I need someone to come in. So if we are looking to expand, sometimes we have employees that will say, Sarah, I can do 32 hours, but 40 hours is too much. Or I can do 28 hours, but that 35-hour mark is too much. We allow them to shift. Sometimes we need to expand or decrease hours to save on expense. It's good to put everyone on the books for 35 hours. And then if you're like, I need some additional hours, or the employees tell you I need to hit 40, go look at the end of the week and go, if I haven't hit my level of call volume and we're overdue, let's let everyone work up to 40 hours. So we do fluctuate. In order to expand, sometimes we reduce everyone's hours just to expand and get on another person. It's the right thing to do. It also saves in overtime too.
Do you, when you're consulting and helping people build out their BDCs, do you feel it's better to try to have an internal in the building BDC or remote workers? Okay,
so for me, this is a great question. I love this question, Jake. For me, it's what the goal is of the dealership. So if the goal of the dealership is we need salespeople and they're green and we keep losing some and I can't find any, you want a BDC to be the training center for your sales staff. So they will start off in the BDC. They will learn from there. They'll learn for 6-8 months to a year. And then when they have learned that position, because most BDC agents are kind of burned out after a year. I hate to say it, but if they go from call to call to call, I was burned out I was cradle to grave. After 6 months, I was ready for the next thing. Then you transition them into sales. So I use that as if you really should have a BDC if you have a weak service advisor section or a weak sales floor, start them off here, recruit them and grow. And a lot of dealerships go, that's a great way for me to internally train and internally grow. If you say, I have a great sales floor, I can find salespeople, I don't think I need it. You can do two things. You can do a hybrid, meaning it's going to be disruptive to the sales floor. If you take away leads and take away calls, have them answer everything for the first couple of days and then outsource the rest to a call center. You're talking to a former salesperson. So for me, I would want all the leads for the first couple of days. If I didn't get anywhere with them, give them off to somebody else. But if it's going to be a large disruption to the sales floor, have them work leads for 2 days. If they don't answer a lead in 15 minutes, have it roll up to the BDC. If they don't answer a phone call on the third or fourth ring, have it roll up to the BDC. The dealership has to protect itself. The business has to protect itself. You have to protect yourself with your salespeople because you don't want it to disrupt the floor, but you also need your clients taken care of. So that's a hybrid model, or you can completely outsource. I love completely outsourcing when you can. You have full coverage from 8 in.the.morning till 9 o'clock at night, sometimes 24/7, 7 days a week. You never have to deal with unemployment. You never have to deal with HR. You don't have people quitting. You don't have the turnover. It's somebody else's problem. So there's 3 different options. Internally, if you need to hire and recruit and train salespeople and advisors from within, a hybrid model if you need to keep people happy, and outsourced if you just want it to be somebody else's problem and you have to hold them accountable.
Well, it's there's certainly times when you want to hire an external BDC, but if you're trying to run it yourself, do you prefer to have agents who are working in a call center in the dealership, or at home agents who are working for you?
If you're going to go remote, then honestly, then just do an outsourced call center, because it's full-time babysitting, and you really, really have to make sure that they are staying on point and they're there to answer your phones and they're getting the support that they need. You might as well just outsource. The whole intention of having a BDC in a dealership is so they learn about the store, they are trained, they're overseen, and it's to grow and recruit them into other positions. So if not, then you might as well just outsource.
And when you're building out these processes, we see a lot of dealers do a combo of internal and outsourcing, and it goes well, and it kind of comes down to the tools that they have in place. Of course, Volie, but are there any other tools that you recommend dealers have in place?
Well, you need call tracking. So let's talk about some of that. You need call tracking. It's hard for you to hold your staff accountable without call tracking. Just in general, this is just me. I was just talking to actually Joanne about it yesterday. For me, if you're booking service, you need a service scheduling software. Let's talk about what you have when you don't have one. When you have a service scheduling software, that software will tell you the customer what their last services are. And let me tell you, it has to be set up correctly. And we do a lot of setup of CRM and systems here. It tells you what the prices are, tells you if they've declined services in the past. It tells you if the customer has a recall. It will help you use transportation, if they're going to drop off, if they're going to pick up. For me, I think it's really hard to book service without a service scheduling software, personally. You have to have dealer identity.
Yeah, I got to make sure
like
your calls aren't coming up as spam. Yeah.
That's a no-brainer game changer. Right there. You have to have that. You have to have textable lines. You have to have the ability to text your customers. You have to have a CRM and an ILM. I have some dealers that try to chintz on it and they don't get a CRM and ILM. They get one or the other. You need a way to manage your traffic. And you have to look at your telephone traffic report to really see what the big picture is. You have to figure out what your return on investment is.
I have a lot I want to talk about in regards to, keeping agents in the long term. But before we get to there, very exciting, folks. We're going to bring Liza with Volie on here to take about 5 minutes and walk us through the brand new live dashboard feature. So let's go ahead and then we'll get right back with Sara. And while I'm bringing Liza in, remember everyone, if you have questions for Sara on hiring, training, and staffing your BDC, type them in the chat here and email me at jake@volie.com, and we will get those taken care of near the end of the call today. So Liza, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Great. So yeah, today's big reveal day. Hopefully your account managers have been hyping up the live dashboard for a very long time. I know my accounts are really excited to see it. So today is kind of that big reveal. I will go ahead and share my screen really quick. Jake, can you enable the screen sharing?
Liza, do you think we're going to do a volley session where I remember to do that beforehand?
Let's try that next month.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we just rolled up the live dashboard last night to super admin only. So right now your reps can preview this screen for you. We're sitting on the data for about 10 days just to make sure that we didn't break anything in some of these very large queues. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek today, and then next week your rep will be reaching out to you to do a more individualized training for your team. So really high level, we still have kind of some of those pieces that you know and love. So the agents view, the messages view, but this overview tab is what's brand new. We tried to condense a lot of information that many of our accounts were piecing together from one report here, one dashboard here. Maybe they had a TV up on the wall that, was logged into the call screen. We tried to pull all of those elements into one spot so you guys can come just into the live dashboard and see everything that you need to see at a glance. So there's a lot of information in here specific to messages, emails, phone calls, to-dos that maybe your managers have. So email and SMS deployments, lots of good metrics on your call stats. All of these metrics are updated every minute. So these are really truly live numbers. You can come in here. This is more live than your home dashboard. A couple of metrics on here are going to be new to all of us. So things that have never been exposed before in Volie. I'm going to keep just clicking around while I'm talking here, but some of these things, they're going to be terms that are new to Volie. So you've not had access to this information before. Your rep will sit down with you. We're going to write out definitions for all of these things so that you know how to use this information. You know what a good benchmark is, what you should be shooting for, on a daily basis sort of thing. Not to leave reps out, we also made some updates in the communication center itself. Again, just adding visibility. So more places that your reps can go to see all of the communications that have come in. So specifically SMS and email. We're talking about not just the text messages and the emails that I have been working, but all of the SMS messages, all of the emails that are unresponded to. So just more kind of in your face, more visibility for your team. Again, on your calls next week, your rep will walk through all of these updates with you, and you might want to do some cleanup before we actually launch the screen for your account. Our big reveal day, we're going to expose the dashboard as well as these beacons on November 1st. So November 1st is when all of these changes will be live in your account. That gives us all about 10 days to meet with you all, do our training, and do any cleanup before you guys get logged in on things like returned missed calls that are old. If they've aged out, let's clean those out before we expose it to your team. Same thing with, can't remember if I just said missed calls or callbacks, both of those things. Anything that's aged, we want to get that out so that when your team logs in, they're starting fresh, with all good messages, emails, phone calls that they should be returning. So stay tuned. We're going to create some help documentation for the live dash as well. So you guys can take a peek there, but any questions, please pass them up to your rep. I know we're all really excited to share this with you guys. So it's been a long time coming. Thank you. I know everybody's been really excited, so we're excited to hand it off.
Liza, before you hop off, we had one question directed at you, and just so you can clarify, who should be listed as super admin? You said this is available to super admins. So what can you clarify as to what you mean there?
Super admin are the Volie reps. So that's your rep. So our job in the next couple of days is to do QA make sure that these numbers, A, are accurate, and B, that we're not slowing anything down by running these queries every minute. We've done kind of how we release everything, right? So as much testing as we can with fake data in the back end. Now we're starting to plug in everyone's accounts, all of your real live data, and it's a lot to digest. So our job is to kind of watch this as we're training you guys on it, and then kind of hand you the keys on November 1st.
On November 1st. Well, thank you, Liza, very much. I know everybody has been looking forward to this for a little bit here. Thanks for coming on and taking the time to walk us through that.
You bet.
Sarah, let's get back to this. I have a great thing I want to get to, but before we get to that, we spoke at the beginning about hiring the right people, what you look for when you hire somebody, but how do you find these folks? Do you know, how do we find the right people? Are we looking on LinkedIn? Are we looking on, other social medias like Facebook? Or are we posting job listings in the newspaper like it's 50 years ago? How do you find the right people?
Right. And there's a couple other things I should add too. So for me, when we are recruiting for BDC, or just like for dealers in general, because we recruit, so our number one source right now is really Indeed. And you got to be careful because Indeed they shift their platforms every now and then. So sometimes they make you pay for the applicant, which can get really expensive, or you can pay by day. We recommend that you pay by day. I would say our number one source of applications is coming from Indeed. To make sure that you have the benefits listed. Why should that employee work for you? What do you offer? And I got to tell you, most businesses that we're taking a look at, they don't have any of that written anywhere on their website. I can't figure out why I would want to work there. So you have to make sure that you're mentioning all of the reasons why someone should want to work for you. Indeed also tells you like what's really important for employees right now, and flexible schedule has really come out where they really, really want a flexible schedule. Facebook groups, there's plenty of automotive Facebook groups out there right now. So you can post in those groups if they'll let you. LinkedIn has been okay. I find LinkedIn great for more manager or higher positions. I find Facebook and Indeed great for BDC agents in general. But that's where we tend to find people. ZipRecruiter, okay. I don't know what the deal is with ZipRecruiter. I just haven't been able to make it work for our call center or for other dealerships' call centers. What I can tell you what the biggest issue is, here's like a don't take your time. Don't collect 100 resumes and then decide to call them. You have to go through and do it really quick. If they apply, go look at it and go, do I want it or no? And here's the other thing, 50% of the Indeed applicants and resumes, and this is just about everywhere, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, you can do Craigslist. I like Craigslist, believe it or not, for technicians and service. But if you count that their resume in Indeed is what their resume actually is, you are incorrect. Reach out to every single one, because what you're going to find out is they are not updating them at all. And if you have ever gone through the process of listing your own resume on Indeed, you'll see why theirs is not updated. It's like, you better take a half a day so that you can start your resume on Indeed. I'm not kidding. That's why when people are like, their resumes are terrible, I'm like, don't even think that anything on Indeed or Monster or anything is actually accurate, because it takes you a half a day just to make sure your resume is the way you would want it listed. It's painful.
Well, now that we've found the people and we've hired the right people, we need to keep the right people. And Tony posted a question in chat. I know we'll take QA at the end, but this is, he actually took my next topic. So Tony, this one's for you. What are your strategies to make sure that you don't have a ton of turnover? How do you make people want to stay? What are your pay plan structures?
Let's be honest with the market and people now. And what we have probably always really wanted when we were working in automotive positions. I mean, I started off in 100% commission. It's incredibly stressful, and man, I mean, I remember crying my first day in automotive. So let's talk about what people are asking for. They don't mind having a little carrot to chase after. They just don't want that carrot to be 75% of their bonus structure. So just about everybody in the market right now is seeking a 75% salary or hourly rate and a 25% carrot, not a 25% salary and a 75% commission. And I laugh because when you take a look at the long term of what that really is, you're saving money by actually giving them a decent base salary and hourly rate. Your money actually goes down because those commission checks can be huge. And let's really be honest with commission checks. If you are not auditing those commission checks and you know how to audit them, they're taking advantage of the commission situation anyways. So you might as well just pay them what they're worth, salary and hourly rate. These are the ones I have recruitment feedback up here, but employees tell me that they leave dealers because there's no training or onboarding. The HR paperwork was a mess and it wasn't organized and they didn't get it and it wasn't prepared when they came in. No one checked in with them. No one asked them within the first week, how are you doing? How are you feeling about everything? And I got to be honest, one of the nicest, kindest things you can do to somebody that you want to bring on board is tell them to shadow one of your employees for 30 minutes. I want you to shadow Caitlin. I want you to shadow Jeffrey for a half an hour before you even start to see if you like the job. I want you to see what they do every day. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I just want you to watch and see if this is the right fit with you. So when you're allowing someone to shadow before they start, it's a great opportunity for them and for you. Because what if you're like, this person is a little crazy. Maybe I don't really want them to come on board. And I hate to say it, your employee talking to a potential new hire, they find out a lot of stuff, more than you would even guess and think that you're not going to find out during the interview. The other employees tell me that they arrived and there was no introduction, no tours. They didn't know where they were going, where the lunchroom was. The lunchroom was gross if they did find it. They didn't know where the bathrooms were. They just really did not feel welcome. So you have to make sure that you at least take a half hour and walk them around the building, show them where to park, show them where they're going to eat. This is everything that you need to do when they start, or they show up and the person who was working in that desk before them is still, like, all their remnants are still there and they really don't have a desk. They're packing up the former employee's desk and they really technically don't have their own. A lot of disorganization. So you really have to make sure that all of that first week goes really smooth, because that sets the tone right there of the employee.
But you still, need to have and of course, all the reasons that the employees are leaving is things that you should know. And so that you can ensure that you keep people. Back to the pay plans for a second. Can you draw a distinction between how you would put that plan in place for sales versus service?
So sales BDC, and you can do different things. We're doing a different system right now for our call center. Most dealers, they want to do an hourly rate, and it's not minimum wage. I'm going to tell you that for BDC, when people are like, we're going to start them off at $8, $10, $12 an hour, take whatever your minimum wage is at the dealership. And if it's a non-experienced agent, you should be probably $3 to $4 higher than minimum wage for their base pay, and then pay them based on not appointment set, because that number can be easily skewed, but on appointments that show. You can even do a stepping ladder. So their stepping ladder would be if you get 10 or 20 shows, you're here. If you have 30, 40, 50 shows, you're here. Some dealers say, I want to pay them on sold. I hate when anybody takes my pay plan and they make it reliable on somebody else. Completely different if you're a manager, but when you're not a manager and you have to have your bonus paid out on somebody else's performance in sales, like what if you have a great appointment and the salesperson bombs it when they walk in? It hurts your commission. So I really just like paying them on set. If you have to do it, don't make your sold bonus as high as your appointment bonus. So I'll give you an example. Shows for sales should be like 20. Shows for an appointment could be 20 and sales could be $5 per show. That's an example. For service, most OEMs, if you're talking about service, they're going to have a CSI rating. They're going to have a CSI questions for BDC agents, and most dealers get paid from the manufacturer on your CSI scores. So your CSI scores have to be good because you're getting compensated for good CSI. Most of it is how long did it take for you to book an appointment? Could you get an appointment, and how was the scheduler? Were they professional in greeting? So I like to do CSI bonuses for BDC service agents. And then overall, just some of the metrics are, are you booking a lot on the outbound calls that you're connecting with? Are you upselling? Those different types of strategies. I'm going to tell you, like service BDC is more customer service. A lot of those appointments are inbound. Sales is typically outbound. My service BDC is usually not as well compensated as my sales BDC. Unless they're doing outbound warranty sales and stuff like that. So
this is a little harder to quantify, than looking strictly at the numbers. But, what about other metrics? I know you said, you, in a lot of ways, you like to just pay them via salary and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at things like, who's on time to work and not ignoring calls? And, I guess this is coming down to, customer service, but are they taking calls? Are they ignoring calls? Are they nice on calls? Doesn't it make sense to incentivize behaviors?
So that's what we decided to do with our call center. And it was mainly not because of us. Dealers were canceling our appointments. So when we were booking appointments for the dealers, their staff was calling and going, how's your credit? Let's talk about your car. And they were doing a lot of pre-qualifying. I don't recommend pre-qualifying, but if that's what the dealership wants to do, if you do what you've done, you're going to get what you got. If that's what you want to do, that's your business model. I give other recommendations, but we decided to go to a point system, and our point system is based on our mystery shops with our agents. They have to hit a certain mystery shop percentage. They have to have call volume. We take out suspicious calls from their call numbers. We really, really hit them hard on ignores. If they don't show up for a day for work, they lose 100 points for the whole week. So they have to have good attendance. And I would say that's kind of a benefit of having remote work. It's hard for you to call in sick when you're rolling out of bed, like your bed is next to your office. It's very hard to call out of work. It's much easier to call out of work when it's 30 minutes away. So we go towards points and quality. We really, really focus on quality, and our agents at the top get, whoever has the highest amount of points gets the highest amount of the bonus pot at the end of the month. And the person at the bottom gets 0. So it doesn't pay to have bad work. And you have to hit 6 out of 10 of those categories, meaning you have to be moving from call to call. You have to have a good CSI. You have to have good mystery shops, and you have to have good attendance. Those are some of the metrics that we use.
Do you feel that money is the best motivator for your staff? To kind of take this one from chat, but to phrase it a little differently, if is there any other way to incentivize people to do good work in your BDC other than pay plan? Do hourly reps work less hard than someone who's chasing the carrot?
I think that it does a competition piece to it. So that competition piece is just good in general. I always say do the carrot, don't just do the hourly. Hourly's for your greeter, cashier, receptionist, lot attendant. That's hourly work. Okay. But your BDC, anyone that has an influence over a product when it comes to selling something should be paid a carrot or a bonus or commission. Do I think that they work hard or make as many? Do you feel your reps are paid more hourly than commission? Then they don't work as hard. I don't think they do. I mean, we have we call it the motivator board. They call it a motivator board for a reason. We have found that when we have a motivator board and when we move to this point system, the competition rose to the next level. Our call volumes went up. The attendance was better. When you make it part of their Compensation, it was better. We used to pay people based on perfect attendance, but we just made it part of their point system now. And we always do spiffs. So my staff is already like, Sarah, it's, the 21st of the month. Where's the spiff? What are we going to do for a spiff this month? Like this month we're doing, did you decorate your cubicle? Are you going to dress up for Halloween? Stuff that makes it fun, even though you're working from home, that you can do certain things to increase that. We did suicide awareness last month. We are an advocate and supporter for suicide awareness. And we said, if you wear your shirt for the day and we get a social media picture of you, you get an extra $100 or 100 points. So if they get a great review online, we give them $100. So those types of little incentives really go a long way. And we also have fantasy football. So we just do like a lot of, you have to make your environment fun. Don't schedule them on their birthday. Give your top performers an extra paid day off if you want, but give them the reason to want to be there and make it fun and make it competitive. But you definitely have to think out of the box.
Well, something Scott has always said is people work their pay plans.
Oh yeah.
So, you have to make it in their best interest to work hard for you, right? Make it a win-win for them to do well. That comes down to making it a fun environment as well as giving them the carrot, for sure.
That's right.
Sarah, appreciate the time. We're going to go ahead and transition into questions. We've gotten quite a few here. Firstly, this person said, what are your thoughts on benchmarks that BDC managers should be setting for their teams? Our teams will set a goal of 100 outbound calls per day, and then suddenly they start hitting 100 outbound calls a day. What KPIs should be checked on a daily basis?
Okay, so always call volume, and I have to go into the fact here that your software matters. That's why I picked Volie, because my agents at the time could only do 100 calls, but now that we have a software that drops in voicemail messages and can do some automation for us, that changes the game and it just allows us to perform better. So taking into consideration, meet with your reps, meet with your telephone company and go, with the software that I have, what realistically can they do? And what should we be holding them to? So that really helped me out a lot, is really working with Sadie, my rep, specifically about stuff like that. So call volume is definitely one of the metrics that should be watched. We just noticed, we were looking at an agent. We have someone that goes through, she's quality control. And she's like, look, this agent vanished for 45 minutes, then went back on the phone, then took a lunch, then vanished again for another 45 minutes. You have to be able to watch and monitor all of that, because not only are they robbing you for calls, they're robbing you for your hourly time too. So we actually, we put in, we have a BDC policy and procedure manual. You should probably have a policy and procedure manual for each of your departments, but we call it time card theft, believe it or not. And I should say, like, we've had a couple employees in the past who gave us fake doctor's notes. And in one of the cities, one of the states, it's actually a felony. And
is that true?
It's a felony.
Wow.
In California. It's a felony. You can go to jail and you have to pay a huge fine. So like, we just had a feeling like something isn't right here. You cannot ask them what, anything that prevents or goes through HIPAA. You can just ask them if the doctor's note is authentic and true. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I answered your question. I just went off on a little tangent there.
No, for sure. And agent efficiency stats are key. We report on them a lot in Volie. We certainly give you the tools to be successful, and you have to manage to those for sure.
And I'll just tell you some of ours too. Productivity is huge. Mm-hmm. So Volie can track productivity time. We want our agents to be 85 to 90% productive. If you look and they're logged into the system, but they're not making any calls, they're not productive. So you have to go, hey, is this person productive? Maybe their call length time is a little bit longer, but they're being productive. So look at productivity, look at your suspicious calls, look at their daily volume average. let's see, look at their shows, their average speed of answer, wrap up time is a big one. Are they moving from call to call? Mystery shop them. But those are some of the factors that I'm just taking a look and going, those are the attendance. Those are some of the factors that we take into in our point system.
Mm-hmm. What are the key interview questions you need to make sure you ask?
I laugh because I pulled up my stuff over here. So let me just pull that up really quick. I always ask, computer wise, would you say you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, or expert? And everybody's expert. Oh, I'm an expert. I go, great. Can you do Excel macros? Can you build macros in Excel? And they're like, no. And I go, can you build a website? And can you tell me what codes you're using when you're building? And they're like, maybe I'm not an expert. I'm probably more like advanced or intermediate. I always have everything prepared. This is what a schedule is going to look like. It's retail hours. Are you able to work retail hours? What do you have outside of those retail hours that could affect your work? Are you and family members involved in sports? What days will you need off? And I have to tell you, one of the things you really should do is try to keep to a set schedule for people if you can, because they will work, they'll set their doctor's appointments, they will set their dentist appointments around a regularly scheduled day off. So you're not trying to figure all of that out on your own. I always like to ask if they're okay with a background check. That'll kind of weed a couple people out, even if you're not doing a background check. But I like to ask that question if they're keyboard proficient, if they know how to type proficiently, and I don't mean finger pecking. Let me see. I'm trying to think any upcoming vacations and time off. So these are standard questions that we ask a BDC agent, and then I just like to hear them. So I would say, I'm going to give you a sample script. Do me a favor in the next 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, leave me a voicemail message. I just want to hear how you sound. I want to see what you sound like in that message and make that part of your interview process.
Quick tangent here, but we got one last question here. Do your reps for service take advisor calls? Status updates? Our reps are making less than 100 outbound calls per day because they're taking a lot of advisor calls.
So that's a little accountability with the advisors, in my opinion. We do have that issue. I would recommend a telephone tree change there. So we had that with another client. He didn't want advisor calls coming up to us. And so I would change around your telephone tree. And I'll give you a quick sample. Press 1 for sales, 2 for service, 3 for parts. If they press 2 for service, make your first option number 1. Do you need is your car in service right now? And do you need a status update? If they press 1, that goes to the advisors. If they need to book an appointment, that goes to your BDC staff. That will help transition some of that. Now, here's the other part. If your advisors know that the BDC is on backup, you have to have a conversation with your advisors. And here's the thing, it's really hard for the BDC to sell a brake job maybe, or sell hey, you came in for an oil change, but you need a $600 service too. Okay. They can do that if you give them the resources. It's also available in service scheduling. So you can do that if you have a very educated BDC service department, but really that's just not holding the advisors accountable to doing their positions, which is upselling work when the car isn't for service. So I would recommend a telephone tree change. And as a former service manager, if my staff wanted commission, why am I going to commission the BDC or have somebody that doesn't even get a commission on something like that do the job of an advisor who gets commission usually on upselling? So that's just passing it off.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions, everyone. Definitely had some good ones. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Sara, thank you very much for the time. Great to have you on here. Next month's Volie session, we're going to have Rebecca Johnson on from Numerical to talk about everything in that realm, and particularly, we'll talk a little bit about our dealer identity program. Sara, thank you for hopping on here. If anyone wants to get in touch with you for help with, advising them and on their BDC, focus on you know, their recruitment services, what how should they get in touch with you?
Our website is one. I always give my cell phone out too. So if you want, I'm going to post it down here right now. You can just book a demo too.
And we'll also go ahead and throw that in the YouTube description.
Yeah. And you can just, Sara at elitebdc.com is a great way. And I'm on Facebook. So more friends, the merrier. So feel free to follow me on Facebook. And we do have a Facebook group too. So whatever you need, we're really, really happy to help. We do 30-minute free consults all the time to help people. So, thank you so much for having me, Jake and family.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for attending. We'll post this on YouTube and our Volie website as well. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks, Sara.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.